Okay, let's get right into this because this is a really big deal. The Supreme Court just issued a unanimous decision that basically rewires retirement security as we know it. And when I say unanimous, I mean all 9 justices agreed. This thing is going to have an impact in all 50 states. And whether you're about to retire or you've got decades to go, this ruling protects your financial future in a way nobody really saw coming. I want you to just imagine this for a second. You've worked your entire life, you've planned everything out, and you move to a new state specifically because they don't tax your pension. You sell your house, you move your family, you build your whole budget around that promise. And then, bam, the state legislature decides to change the law and slap a new tax on your income. It's the ultimate financial rug pull. So that's the million-dollar question, right? Can they really do that? And for a long, long time, the answer was, unfortunately, yeah, pretty much. States had a ton of power to just change the rules. But the Supreme Court has finally weighed in. And their answer? Well, it changes absolutely everything for millions of us. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the old way of doing things, how states could make a promise and then break it. Then we'll get into the court's brand new shield. After that, we'll pinpoint exactly who this protects. And this is the important part. We'll cover 3 steps you can take right now to protect yourself. And finally, we'll look at what's coming down the road. To really get why this is such a landmark case, you got to understand what the world was like before it. The whole thing really came down to trust. I mean, you make huge life decisions based on the law. But what happens when the government just changes the law on you? Historically, the answer was just tough luck. Yeah, before this ruling, states had a crazy amount of leeway. They could just decide to start taxing your pension differently, or they could change the math on how public employee benefits were calculated. Sometimes they'd even slap on new fees with almost no warning. And for folks who had planned their whole lives around the old rules, they were pretty much left high and dry. But now, the entire landscape has shifted. In this really sweeping, definitive statement, the Supreme Court basically drew a new line in the sand. And this isn't just some recommendation. It's a new constitutional standard that applies everywhere, from California to Maine. Now, what's really wild is this number, 9-0. I mean, in today's political climate, getting all 9 justices to agree on anything is a huge deal. This wasn't some squeaker of a 5-4 decision. This was a powerful, unified message that the rules of the retirement game have fundamentally changed, for good. That 9-0 vote gives this thing incredible legal authority. So what's the legal idea behind all this? The court called it fundamental reliance interests. Now, that sounds complicated, but in plain English, it just means that when you rely on the law to make major life decisions, the government can't just come in and pull the rug out from under you. It's that simple. Your good faith planning is now officially a constitutionally protected thing. So how does the court make sure this actually works? They created a new 3-part test that any state has to pass before changing a retirement law. First, they have to ask, did people make big financial moves based on the old law? Second, is this new law going to cause real financial harm? And third, and this one's key, does the state have a reason for the change that is so compelling it actually outweighs all that harm? And this is the real game changer. The burden of proof has totally flipped. It's now on the state to prove their case, not on you. Before, you had to hire lawyers and go through this massive uphill battle. Now, the law is on your side from the get-go. The state has to justify its actions to you, not the other way around. It's a huge, huge shift. Okay, so that's the legal theory, but who does this actually help in the real world? Let's zoom in a bit and talk about the specific groups of people who are going to benefit from this new shield. And you might be surprised. You could be one of them. The first most obvious group is our state and local employees. Teachers, firefighters, police, city workers. For years, states in a financial pinch would try to mess with their benefits or change retirement ages for people who are already well into their careers. This ruling says, nope, you can't just change the deal. If your pension got cut after you'd already put in the years, you might now have a solid legal case to fight back. Next up are the millions of Americans who did exactly what we talked about at the start. They moved for retirement based on the tax laws. States like Florida and Texas are famous for no income tax, but other states attract retirees with special breaks on retirement income. If any of those states try to go back on their word, this ruling is a powerful defense for those folks who made life-altering decisions based on that promise. And hey, this isn't just for people who are already retired. This is a huge deal for those of us still saving.
If you're in your 40s or 50s and you're maxing out your 401k based on your state's current tax code, this ruling has your back. It says the state can't just wait till you retire and then change the rules on money you already saved. This protects the financial planning you are doing right now. And here's another group people aren't really thinking about yet: anyone receiving Social Security. Now, that's a federal program, but about a dozen states actually tax those benefits. This ruling raises some serious questions about whether those states can just decide to increase those taxes down the line. Some legal experts are even wondering if it could be used to challenge the existing taxes. It's a new frontier, but the potential is massive. So look, understanding the ruling is one thing, but knowing what to do about it is how you actually protect your money. Let's shift gears from the what to the how. Here are 3 very real, very practical steps you can take to make this legal precedent work for you. I want you to think about this like you're building a wall of protection around your retirement. It's got 3 main parts. First, you've got to document what your state's laws are right now. This is your evidence. Second, talk to a professional who actually knows about this ruling. And third, if you have a pension, it's time to dust off those documents and look at them with a fresh pair of eyes. Let's break that down. Okay, step 1 is absolutely critical. Document everything. I mean, right now. Go to your state's Department of Revenue website, find the pages about retirement income taxes, and screenshot them. Save them as PDFs. Print them out. Why? Because if the state ever tries to change the rules, this is your proof of what the law was when you made your plans. Your 401k statements, your old pension enrollment forms, all of this becomes evidence of your reliance, which is now protected. Okay, step 2, talk to an expert. Don't just assume your financial advisor is up to speed. Ask them directly, hey, are you familiar with the Supreme Court's Reliance Interests ruling? If they give you a blank stare, you might need to find someone who gets it. And that brings us to step 3, review your documents. Dig out that pension plan summary. Find the papers from when you started your 401k. Look for the promises they made. These aren't just company policies anymore. They're promises the state now has a duty to uphold. So, we've gone through the ruling and your action plan. But what happens now? This decision is going to cause some ripples. State governments that were used to having this flexibility are now going to have to adjust. This is why you've got to stay on top of things. This chart really just says it all, doesn't it? Before, states held all the cards, and the burden was on you to fight them. Now, states have to pass that strict test, and the burden is on them to justify their actions. It's a fundamental rebalancing of power between you and your state government. But, don't expect states to just take this lying down. They're going to test the limits. Some will probably try grandfather clauses, where new, worse rules only apply to new hires. Others might try to phase in changes super slowly over many years, hoping a court will see that as less harmful. And you can bet that lawyers for some states are already drafting new laws just to see how far they can push the boundaries of this ruling. And that really brings us to the most important point of all. This ruling is a huge victory, but it's not some automatic force field. Think of it like this. The Supreme Court just handed you a really powerful tool. But a tool is only as valuable as what you decide to do with it. Knowing about this ruling is the first step, but it's just the first step. The real benefit comes from taking action, documenting the laws today, reviewing your plans, and staying informed. It's about turning a legal headline into a personal financial strategy. The court has done its part. It's given you a shield. So the only question left is, are you ready to use it? Thanks for watching.